Alright, YouTube, at this time I'm going to deviate from politics a little bit and I'm going to focus on a new type of topic on this channel. And I actually have a little segment on this channel with a new title. It's called Zach's Legal Lessons. So today is Zach's Legal Lessons, episode number 1. What's up, everybody? It's Zach the Celtics guy here, and I'm back with another video, and I'm going to discuss some different topics on this channel starting today, and I'm kind of going to deviate from politics a little bit, and I'm going to start focusing a little bit more on some other different topics that are more of an interest to my heart, particularly of what I studied in college. Law is one of them. So that's why I wanted to make a little segment called Zach's Legal Lessons. And the reason I wanted to do that because I noticed that I have kind of discussed some political stuff on this channel, like world affairs and whatnot. I figured that I've kind of covered that sufficiently enough where I'm kind of going to deviate away from that for a little bit. I mean, I will still talk about world affairs on this channel, periodically on this channel. When I see something that's interesting to me that I feel the need to cover, I'll cover it on this channel, but for the time being, I'm kind of just going to focus on this for right now, unless I see something else in the world that I feel is necessary to cover. But for now, I'm kind of just going to focus on this. So, on the first episode of Zach's Legal Lessons, episode number 1, what is the legal lesson that we're going to focus on today? Based on the age-old question called, when does exceeding the speed limit become reckless? There are many instances of where speeding can become reckless. So yes, laws based on speeding vary widely by jurisdiction, and they vary widely depending on where you live, basically. They can depend. Some places will suspend your license for long periods of time if you exceed the speed limit, say by triple digits. You drive over 100 miles an hour, that could be considered reckless. Some jurisdictions consider 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, or in the cases of any of my listeners outside of the U.S., kilometers, although the UK uses miles per hour. So depending on certain kilometers an hour, 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, which is 30 kilometers an hour, that would constitute it. So there's a variety of different things. For example, in Wisconsin, they can suspend your license for 15 days for traveling 25 miles an hour over the speed limit. North Carolina will take your license away if you travel 15 miles an hour over the speed limit and are greater than 55 miles an hour while doing it, and vice versa. Here in Massachusetts, there's really no set speed of what's considered reckless or suspendable. It kind of just depends on the circumstances. So say for example, driving 100 miles an hour or more in the middle of the night on an empty road or on an empty highway at 1 o'clock in the morning when there's no cars around, I would say that that's worthy of a hefty ticket. But if you're doing that in the middle of the day where there's other traffic around, oh no, I'm going to say, fuck you, you deserve to be arrested and your vehicle impounded and your license confiscated for operating to endanger. So yeah, that's my opinion on that factor. So yeah, when does speeding become reckless driving or suspendable, in my opinion? Well, as far as I feel, it really should just depend on the circumstances of the traffic, the weather, and so on and so forth. So like I said, it would make more sense to look at it like that. It really would just depend on the traffic, because think of it. If someone's driving 100, triple digits on an empty highway in the middle of the night or something like that, yeah, it might be pretty dangerous still, because traveling at that speed regardless is pretty fucking dangerous. But I wouldn't necessarily suspend their license per se, or I really wouldn't necessarily do that, because there's really no existential threat, because you're not really threatening other traffic because there's so little traffic around at that time of the night. So I would just do that, and I would just say that, yeah, in that instance, you are worthy of just a very hefty fine, like a $500 fine or something like that. But when it comes to, say, like I said, the double-edged sword, if someone was doing that in the middle of the day when there's like other traffic around, or traffic was a lot more heavy, I'm not gonna shed 1 ounce of mercy on you, and I would just arrest you, impound your vehicle, and confiscate your license and take you to jail for reckless operation, basically. So that basically is what that would fall under. So it really should just depend on the traffic. It should just depend on those types of things. It really should just depend on things like that. And that's not to say that that's not dangerous regardless, because no, like that type of speed is dangerous regardless, but determining the penalties for doing those types of things should really just depend on the circumstances surrounding the offense. Like, for example, the traffic and so on and so forth. It really should just depend on who was affected, like who was put at risk as a result. So like I said, heavy traffic around and you're doing that, oh yeah, you should be taken to jail, no question about it. But like I said, if it's like an empty highway in the middle of the night and you're doing that, you should just really just get a hefty fine. You see what I'm saying? So it basically would just depend on that. But in other instances, like, oh yeah, 15, 20 over the limit, you get your license taken away or whatever, and say like Wisconsin, North Carolina, wherever, for example, am I going to sit here and feel bad for you, or am I going to sit here and say that like that was an injustice if your license is taken away in those jurisdictions because you were speeding by wide margins while also traveling greater than 55? You can file that one under fuck no. As a matter of fact, I actually feel like it's pretty justified. Now you can say that that makes me a brute, you can say that that makes me like whatever, but in all honesty, you got to think of it that way, because it's like, why would you travel 25 miles an hour over the speed limit in general? That is generally considered reckless in many jurisdictions, so why would you do that? And then there's also comes to the other sword of some people want to say, oh, if the speed limit is 70 or whatever, because, for example, well, I'm from Massachusetts where it's 65, but generally everyone goes like 70. That's probably about what I would do. It depends on the traffic, of course, but generally speaking, yeah, I go about that, maybe 70, but really no more than that. Now, probably about 100 miles from here, there is a wooded area that I've been to with Stephen, and I've been to with many of my friends. I have many friends in New Hampshire. About 6-7 years ago, this one section of I-93 in New Hampshire, just north of Concord, New Hampshire, was raised to 70 miles an hour. Well, basically because it's the absolute middle of nowhere, because basically north of Concord, New Hampshire, is basically the middle of absolute nowhere. So it was raised to 70 probably because, like I said, it's the middle of friggin' nowhere. So it would therefore be safe for it to be that. It's 55 going through Concord, jumps up to 65 when you get back into the rural, and then once you get into like the dense forest, like just basically middle of nowhere, then it jumps back up to 70. Yeah, I've been up that way before, but that's like 100 miles away or something from here. But it's, there's some like wooded areas that are like absolutely beautiful, and I've been up that way before. But my point of what I'm trying to say is that if it says 70, how fast do you think I do? How fast do you think other people should go? How fast do I go in that instance? Let's see. I go that. Maybe, okay, yeah, maybe a little bit more than that, but I don't go any more than that, really, because think about it. It's already 70. You're already going fast enough. You're in the middle of friggin' nowhere, so think about it. Why does people want to push the limit while saying, oh, it's 70, that means you can go 80? No, it doesn't, okay? No, it friggin' doesn't. You are already going fast enough in that instance. You are already going fast enough in that instance, because it always seems like everybody wants to push the fucking limits. Everybody wants to push the fucking limits. They think, oh, look at that, it's 70. It's people like this as to probably why places like Massachusetts won't raise it to 70, won't raise the 65 speed limit to 70, probably because they think there's so many dumbasses out there that are going to look at that and say, oh, it's 70, that means that we can go 80. Like, no, it does not. Where Steven is from Indiana, it's 70 as well, on some of the most rural speed limits as well, obviously, because Indiana's the middle of nowhere as well. Middle of nowhere, cornfields, everything else, but that's a whole nother point. Same thing, 70. And I'm not trying to sit here and say, oh, look at me, I follow the speed limit. Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that this is all basically for safety reasons. And I'm just kind of just advocating for safety, basically. You're already going fast enough. Why push it? Don't you think 70 is fast enough? Don't you think 70, 75 is fast enough? Even 75 is pushing it. Okay, I don't go any more than that because I don't feel the need to, because you're already going fast enough in the first place. Why go faster than that? Especially up in the middle of nowhere where you'll have to worry about possibly deer or moose running out in front of you at any given moment. So why push it? Why exceed that? And then some people think, oh yeah, but then people want to use this argument. People want to use the German Autobahn as an excuse to fucking speed, which here's the difference. It's a different country with different standards and all sorts of different rules, everything. You know in Germany how hard it is to get your license, how much training there is to get your license, and all that type of stuff. It's much harder to get your license. It is way harder, and the roads are oftentimes in a lot better condition. People are more trained and more well experienced. And there's also things like left lane discipline, where the left lane is strictly for passing only and things like that. But then some people sit here, but then here's the double-edged sword on that. There are certain speeds that do become reckless. But then some people think, oh, but the left lane, hogging the left lane is worse than, but sitting there, but like, yeah, people speeding and all that, but the left lane is this and that. Oh, people hogging the left lane, that's the problem. No, but that act is nowhere near as dangerous as someone driving over 100 miles an hour. I'm sorry, I beg to fucking differ. Okay, so like if certain people want to say, oh hogging the left lane is dangerous, but going over 100 miles an hour is okay. Like, oh yeah, like the German Autobahn, like it's safe to be doing that, but the left lane, that's more dangerous than doing that. Well, again, that's a sloppy, grotesque, false equivalency to a much more complex situation. It denies the whole fact of the matter that, yeah, driving that fast is way more dangerous, particularly in certain, Western countries like ours, where there isn't as much training in Germany. So again, it's a false equivalency because you're talking about a country that has completely different standards, completely different driving rules, and much more extensive, expensive, and better training than the U.S. and most of the world in general. So again, different country, different standards, different rules, all that type of stuff. So again, it's a false equivalency. And again, I'm not going to feel bad if, say, someone, got caught driving like 90 and 70 and they got their license suspended. No, I'm not going to feel bad for you because it just goes in the sense of you shouldn't have been going that fast to begin with. Now again, like I said, there should be exceptions like, medical emergencies or you're rushing some loved one to the hospital or something like that. Yeah, but generally speaking, you shouldn't be doing it. Like, you just shouldn't be doing it. And I'm not gonna shed a fucking tear. I'm not gonna shed a single tear. I'm not gonna feel bad for you. I'm not gonna anything if you get your license suspended for something like that. Because technically, if I'll be honest, you should know better. And by taking away someone's license like that, you're simply eliminating a problem. You are eliminating a danger. That is a threat to the road you are now eliminating. So, yeah, there is no benefit. There is no gain to letting someone like that drive on the road. There is no gain. There is no worth. There is no benefit to keeping someone like that around. There really isn't. So, I'm not trying to sit here and say this is for self-aggrandizing reasons or anything like that, but I'm just saying there are I think certain speed limits are ridiculously low in some places, like in Massachusetts, where I think it should be higher. But I'm not going to sit there and go 20 fucking miles over the limit in these places because I feel like it's my thing. No, I ain't going to do that. And I don't think anyone else should be doing it either. I really don't think anyone else should be doing it either. I'm sorry, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not sitting here trying to advocate for a nanny state. I'm not sitting here trying to talk for self-aggrandizing reasons like, oh, this is what I say. Like, no, these are just based on facts that I've read, and this is also based on what I think of this situation. So if you want to advocate, yeah, the speed limit should be raised in certain places, don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into this whole, oh yeah, the German Autobahn, this, that, and the other thing. Because again, it's a false equivalency to a much more complex situation. Denies the whole thing about the matter and the fact that it's a different country with different standards. And don't get me wrong, people who hog the left lane are fucking assholes. They're fucking morons. And anyone who does hog the left lane, and if they are in the left lane for any other reason other than passing, yes, they deserve to be pulled over and fined. I agree with that 100%. But to make this notion that hogging the left lane is more dangerous than some reckless idiot driving like 150 miles an hour on a highway, no, that's absolutely ridiculous, and that's a false equivalency to a much more bigger situation. Because that act is nowhere near as dangerous as someone else going that fast. That's a stupid argument. That's a false equivalency. You are not going to win the argument in the court of public opinion about raising speed limits, because someone's going to look at you like that and think, yeah, okay, someone driving slow in the left lane, yeah, they might be an asshole, they might be hogging traffic and whatnot, but they're not endangering as many lives as the other idiot driving 100 and something miles an hour in the other lane, or driving 30 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour over the speed limit in the other lane. Yeah, okay, bud. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's basically what the person would say. So no, other people would look at you and be like, I beg to differ, bud. And that's actually what I think as well. So in those instances, yes. I think certain places in the U.S., including my state, certain speed limits should be raised because it would be safer. I don't think there would be issues. But if you think I'm going to sit there and advocate for, yeah, people driving hundreds of miles an hour and that's okay and whatnot. But like I said, the left lane should be enforced. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that completely, 100%. I absolutely agree with you on that. But I'm not going to sit here and act like that behavior is more dangerous than some reckless idiot doing hundreds of miles an hour. I beg to differ. And if you want to think that, and if you do think that, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. But I'm sorry, it's completely the opposite. That is, like I said, that's a false equivalency. And you are not going to win the argument on higher speed limits and whatnot by using that argument. I think we should use my argument of in the sense of, oh no, fuck this reckless idiot. Anyone who drives that fast, they need to pull their license and take them to jail for reckless operation. But the left lane, yeah, people who do that, they hog the left lane and whatnot, yeah, they should be pulled over and fined. I agree with that 100%. But if you want to continuously use the German Autobahn argument to a much more complex situation, you're not going to win that argument in the court of public opinion. You're just not. So you're really not. So that's basically all I wanted to say today. So basically, all I wanted to talk about today was speed limits. When does speeding become reckless? When should people have their licenses pulled? And what's the difference between the German Autobahn and many Autobahns in this, or other highways in the world, including the U.S. and whatnot? So that's pretty much all I wanted to say today. So anyway, thank you all for listening. This is going to be a new segment on this channel. I'm going to do videos like this periodically. I'm going to shift kind of away from politics for a little bit. I do have some other political things that I do kind of want to address, but I'll do that at some point soon. I do have other topics I do want to discuss. Not necessarily political, but it's more like worldly things that other things I want to discuss, but I will discuss it more going forward. I'll discuss some of that, but like I said, I'm going to deviate from that a little bit. I might talk about it here and there, but for the time being, I'm kind of going to focus on this for right now. So I'll be back with more videos like this, other worldly videos, and a whole bunch of other stuff in the works. Stay tuned to find out more videos on the way. I apologize if my voice sounds weird. I don't know, my voice has been my throat's been kind of scratchy for the last few days. I'm not sick or anything. I think it's just allergies or something, but I also woke up like an hour ago, so that might also be it too. Anyway, I'll catch you all in the next video. This is Zach the Celtics guy saying thank you for watching, and I'll see you, and more stuff in the works, and I'll see you all again in the next video. Peace, have a nice day or night, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now, and drive safe. Peace out.